Hello guys and girls, how's it going? Screezilla here and I hope you're all well. And you join me today in the Centurion Mark III. Now, we're going to be looking at some of the characteristics of this tank, and some of the battle characteristics as well, and also some of the characteristics of the solid shot shells, which is going to be important in the next update. Now, a little bit of history on this tank. So this tank was designed to replace the ageing British tanks such as the Comet, the Cromwell, the cruiser tanks, and also, of course, the Churchill. And it was designed to have that better strength and ability. So it had a sloped front armour. It had less armour than the Churchill, but with that slope, similar to the Panther and the T-34, it gave it much better durability and a much higher effective fitness and more chance of bouncing, things like that. The main part of the design for this tank was to be able to take a hit from a German 88 gun. Now, one of the main things for this tank as well was it needed to have a good reverse capability. The British weren't too worried about the forward momentum and the ability to the sort of left and right movements, things like that, its agility. They were more concerned with its ability to move forwards and backwards quickly at low gears. Not top speed, but high-end, low speed. And this is from when the Allies were over in Italy, and Allied tanks were trapped in narrow sunken roads by the German army, and they were absolutely blasted to buggery because they didn't have very good reverse speeds. So they modified production of the gearbox to have 2-speed reverse with a higher reverse speed similar to a second gear, basically. So this was the main thing. And it was also designed around the new 20-pounder gun that was coming out as well, so the 87mm gun. Now, originally it was worked off the 17-pounder, with a 20mm Beezer machine gun on the turret as well, which unfortunately wasn't produced. But it was a very good tank, and this tank had a very long career as well. Some of the chassis are still in service today, in fact. That just tells you how long this tank's gone on for. For instance, with the Elephant in the African army, the South African army, it's still in use today. Now, the Mark III, which we have here, was a very useful tank, and it has quite a long history. It came into service in 1946, so just after the war, and it was one of the most advanced tanks ever built at the time. It was so unique and different. It was a real game changer. And of course, as the Cold War heated up, the Russians, they didn't have much to really face this. They had to start developing their own tanks to face and defeat it. It saw its first real action in Korea with the 8th King's Royal Irish Hussars. They had a squadron of Centurion Mark III tanks and landed in Busan. They were operating in sub-zero temperatures, and they learnt very quickly they had to put straw down to stop the tracks freezing and also run the engine every half an hour. It served relatively well. Most notably, the Centurions of the 1st Royal Tank Regiment were involved in the Second Battle of Hook, where the tank played a significant role repelling Chinese attacks. General John O'Daniel, commanding the US 1st Corps, stated, "In their Centurions, the 8th Hussars who have evolved a new type of tank warfare. They taught us that anywhere a tank can go is a tank country, even the top of mountains." And this is because the Centurion had great climbing capabilities, much like the Churchill. Now, get some good shots on that Tiger there. Take out its gun first. Now there's a tiny little tank out there. Good shot on there and take out its crew. Things are going well so far. Also served in the Suez Crisis. where it was actually fighting against the SU-100 tank destroyers of the Egyptian forces. And it did relatively well there as well. In Vietnam, the Australian Tank Corps took it out as well, and there were some very notable actions for it there too. It worked very well. There was one of the conflicts that actually managed to take down something like 200 odd Viet Cong forces. Really made a difference, and in that sort of very hilly terrain, it was very good because it had very good climbing capabilities. During the 3.5 years of combat operations, 58 Centurions had served in the country, 42 had suffered battle damage, only 6 were beyond repair, and only 2 crewmen had been killed in action. So it was very reliable in that respect. You know, it did take damage, but it wasn't terrible. It was serving up until the Gulf War, and has served in Jordan, been serving in Jordan and South Africa, as I said, even later. The Mark V recovery vehicles were used in the Gulf War by the British, and it's still used to this day in sometimes some modifications, as it did have a lot of different uses as well. Now, one of the interesting things is actually with the Australian Army. One of the Mark IIIs, Centurion Mark III Type K, Army registration 169041, was involved in a small nuclear test at Emu Fields in Australia in 1953, part of Operation Totem. Built as number 39 of 190 at the Royal Ordnance Factory, Banbury, it was placed less than 500 yards, 460 metres, from a 9.1 kiloton blast, with its turret facing towards the epicentre, left with its engine running and full ammunition load. Examination after the detonation found that it had been pushed away from the blast point by 5 feet, pushed slightly left, and its engine had stopped working. But the engine had only stopped working because it ran out of fuel. The antenna were missing, and lights and periscopes were heavily damaged from sandblast. The cloth mantlet cover was also incinerated. The armoured side plates had been blown off and carried up to 200 yards away from the tank. Remarkably, though, it could still be driven from the site, where the tank... However, if the tank had been manned, the crew would most likely have been killed by the shockwave, but can't be said for sure. Still, that's pretty bloody impressive. The tank was actually nicknamed the Atomic Tank, and was used during the Vietnam War in May 1969. During a firefight, it was hit by a rocket-propelled grenade. The turret crew were all wounded by shrapnel as the RPG entered the lower left side of the fighting compartment and travelled diagonally across the floor and lodged in the rear right corner. Tank Trooper Carter was evacuated while the others remained on duty, and the tank remained battle-worthy. The atomic tank is now located at Robertson Barracks in Palmerston, Northern Territory. Although other tanks were subject to nuclear testing, 169041 is the only one known to have withstood a blast and go on for another 23 years of service, including 15 months of operational deployment in a war zone. So that tells you how tough this tank was. It took a nuke to the face and laughed it off. It's amazing when you consider that, the amount of damage that would have caused, and it survived. Now, in-game, it's a relatively good tank. It's not that mobile and not that quick, but it is a good platform. The turret is well armoured, and you will be able to take a few shots there. The main thing is the gun. The 20-pounder gun on here, 88mm, 86mm, I can't remember what millimetre it is. I always get muddled up with when I'm talking between 20-pounders and things like that. Is very good, and the velocity of your Savo shells is very handy. It will just absolutely tear anything apart. As you've seen in this battle, we've had some good shots on enemies, and it's very sort of accurate. It's easy to use. Now right here we've got a M104, I think it's a Walker Bulldog, and we aim with the binoculars and get a very good shot there, straight into him, and that Savo shell's absolutely destroyed him. It does lack small arms fire, as it's only got the 707s, which don't really do much to anything, but they do let you sort of ping targets and spot. The tank for its BR is very, very good, 6.3 with the Mark III anyway. The Mark I Centurion is also quite handy, and relatively strong as well. Now, after this, we'll just head back to the hangar and I'll just show you the rewards I got for this mission. And it wasn't a bad mission all in all. I ended up getting 3 kills. I didn't push for the cap, I was mainly sort of watching out and just keeping an overwatch. As you saw, I started at the bottom corner there and A was the only cap, so I pushed up. So that's the end of the match, and we will move on now. So hopefully the audio should be catching up to the right spot here. You have to forgive me, I'm just recording this in post-production. So as you can see, we got a heap of trophies. We ended up getting 22,000 lions, some good experience, things like that. Nice lot of rewards, including Heavy Metal Fury, and yeah, all in all, it worked out very, very well for us. It was, as I said, it was a good game all in all. It didn't finish too high on the list just because we didn't cap any zones, so I didn't get the extra points for the zone capping, which is kind of funny sometimes. You'd think you should get a bit more for killing. Now I'll just show you the armour views here as well in a moment. Just unlock my smoke shell. There we go. So I've got the smoke grenades, which is nice, they're always handy. But as you can see, it's a very modern looking tank, especially for a 1946 tank. The turret is very well armoured. You're going to be able to bounce a lot of shots hull down. The front plate is a little bit trolly, but you do get shot through there a lot. Side plates, yeah, they're not going to stop much at all. You do get absolutely wrecked from the side. As you can see, as we x-ray, the ammunition is the biggest problem just at the front here. If you do get shot centre of mass, generally you're going to get ammo racked. Also, if you get shot in the turret as well, because you've got the 3-man crew there, you will get killed most times in the turret if they have explosive filler. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I will catch you next time. This is Screezilla out. Bye bye.